Hey, how's it going? It's Friday. So, what does that mean? It's Financial Fridays. Have you ever wondered when the best time to buy a home is? Like, should you buy now? Wait? Who knows? Let's find out. What's the common reason why people decide to wait? Well, it's usually because it costs too much. That's what most people say. That's like the common thing. But how much is your rent? You know, the average rent in America is about $1,300. At $1,300 a month on rent, you're spending $14,500 a year just on your rent. And you're not paying it to yourself, you're paying it to some other person, a landlord, either a company or individual. And rents keep going up. They go up anywhere from 2 to 3% a year, depending on where you live. So, when should you buy a house? Should you wait? Should you not wait? Well, the longer you wait, the more expensive the house gets. If you go back into like the 80s or something like that, even further behind, houses weren't as expensive as they are today. So historically, houses just keep on going up. They go up around 2% a year on average, but sometimes they go down, but other times they skyrocket even higher. As of now, the average house is about $300,000. And in about a year, they're projecting it'll be a 5 to 6% increase. So that means that exact same house today will be 317,000. Not only that, interest rates are going up. They're at a historic low. They're never going to be this low again. That's why I'm refinancing again to get the low rate. But they keep going up, which means that you're paying more in interest, which means that your payments will go up. So not only is interest going up, but now your payments are going up as well because the house costs more. So let me share you my experience. This is my second home that I've owned. My first home I bought with a bunch of friends because the market was really low. We knew it was a good time to get in. So a bunch of us got together, bought a house, fixed it up. We ended up selling it at a profit because we couldn't live together anymore, and it was time to like move on from having like 5 or 6 guys in a house. So we moved on. I took that money and I decided to rent it first. I didn't want to buy right away because I was too busy, you know, being young. But so anyways, so I decided to rent, and I was gonna wait because I thought, okay, the market's kind of it's expensive right now. So a year goes by, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to buy, but it's a little too expensive. And every year, my landlord raised my rent $100 every year, no matter what. And so at first, it was kind of cheap. That's why I got in. But then it started getting more and more and more expensive. And so to the point where I was like, she actually told me, she's like, okay, next year it's going to be $200. And I like looked at the what houses were going for and my mortgage would be. I'm like, it's about the same. So I might as well own instead of rent. So that's when I decided to go out there and rent. And at first I was like, oh, the market's too high. I'm going to let it calm down a little bit. But it kept on going up. And that's when I realized, well, I might as well buy now and lock in my rent or mortgage so I don't have to, it doesn't get these raises every year. So I decided to buy a house. And I told my brother, I was like, you should buy a house too. And he told me all the typical things why you shouldn't do. It's too expensive. I like the spot I'm at. If I have to buy somewhere else that I can afford, it won't be in this cool location that I want to be. Also, that he doesn't want to fix anything in case something breaks, because if you rent, then the landlord has to fix it. But if you own, then the dishwasher goes out, you have to buy a new dishwasher. All those kinds of things that he told me. And I said, okay, fine. So 3 years have passed since then. I finally convinced him he's gonna buy. Since then, he has paid almost $100,000 in rent. That's money you can't get back that he paid to someone else. $100,000. He paid $2,500 a month for the last little over 3 years. And then on top of that, houses have gone up a lot since then. That same house that he could have bought 3 years ago, houses in this area have gone up around almost 25%. So that same house that he could have got for like 400,000 is now over 500,000. So now he has to pay pretty much more for the same house that he could have got. But instead he decided to wait. So he lost 100 grand on rent. Then he also has to pay more because his payments are going to be higher because houses are more expensive. And if he would have just done it back then, he would have been in a different place than he is now. I bought then, and my exact same house that I'm currently living in went from 400,000, which I bought it for, up to now. I think ones have sold in my area for like 525. What's most people scared of? They're scared of if they buy a house today, it market will crash and they lose everything. During the worst crash, one of the worst crashes in American history was the 2005 crash, around 2005, 2006. If you would have bought at its peak and then it dropped on average 33%. So I think it was took about 2.5 years to do that full drop from around 2005, 2006 down to like 2008 or 9. And it dropped by 33%. That's the average drop. But you know how long it took till it rebounded to back up to where it was? Less than 10 years. So if you bought a house in 2005, by 2015, the house was worth more than what you paid. Even though you bought it at the peak and it dropped all the way down because of the crash, you're still sitting good. And that was the worst crash ever. But during those 10 years, if you had to pay rent, say you paid, $1,100-$1,200 a month on average, in 10 years, that'd be $150,000 gone to rent that you can't get back. If you were to own that home, even at its peak, now it's even higher than before. For 10 years, you would have locked in your mortgage or rent, so you wouldn't have to change with landlords changing the price on you, or if a landlord wants to sell the home. That's happened to my brother's neighbor. This guy's lived in it for like 10 years. The lady died. The kids got the home. They don't want to deal with it. They're selling it like fast. And so he has to get out within a couple months. So you don't have to deal with that. If you own a home, you control your own fate and what's going to happen. So when should you buy? I say now. If you have debt, try to get out of debt. First, get a savings going and try to save for that down payment. You're going to have to make sacrifices, like maybe getting a roommate. That's what I had to do in the beginning. Or, you move to a less further away from work or a less desirable area or a house that's smaller than what you're currently renting. But in the end, after 30 years, you don't have to pay rent or mortgage or anything. So you get to keep all that money. So I suggest as soon as you can. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe and comment below. Maybe if you own a house, if you're saving for a house, I'd like to know. All right, thanks.